that time of the show to get our weekly updates on the weather with Market Journal Chief Meteorologist Eric Hunt standing by. Eric's still pretty dry around the state, but we are getting some cooler weather. How are things looking in the week ahead?
Thanks, Alice. Definitely see some frost and pumpkin in the crystal ball for most of us in the state early this next week. Let's start by reviewing, though, how dry we were in the month of September. So a good portion of the state of Nebraska was certainly in the driest 10th percentile, if not the driest on record. We were good company, though. A lot of Iowa, Minnesota, northern Wisconsin, and the UP of Michigan also had one of their driest Septembers on record. We've also been quite warm here across the state most of the last several weeks, including last Saturday, particularly across southeastern Nebraska, where we had some all-time record heat with a couple of spots hitting 100 degrees for the first time ever in the month of October. Again, we now have about 75% of the state in drought. Roughly a third of the state is in severe drought, including portions of all of 46 counties in the state. We now actually have a slither of the extreme drought into portions of Sioux County. Again, if we don't get some precipitation soon, we're going to see continued degradation, particularly across portions of western Nebraska, where we maybe haven't had as much of that just yet. Soil moisture across the state and across the region continues to be abysmal, with soil moisture generally below the 5th percentile across a very large portion of this part of the country. Again, this is probably just about as bad, if not worse in some cases, we were even in 2012. So again, we really need some moisture back in this region soon to put down the wildfire risk that we've been having lately. Again, rangelands continue to be very, very poor across a lot of the high plains region. And they definitely have degraded a good bit here in the last month or so across portions of the sandhills, according to some vegetation index data. For the week ahead, we are going to see a trough move in the upper Midwest early this weekend that will drive a cold front through the state on Saturday night, and we will see noticeably cooler temperatures statewide on Sunday. Not significantly cool for this time of year, but certainly a bit cooler than what we have been. And with that, we're going to see a good chance of freezing temperatures across the western and central portion of the state on Monday morning, and I think a pretty good chance of everybody being below freezing, at least for a period of time on Tuesday morning. So we are likely going to see an end to our growing season for 2024 by early this next week. Temperatures will warm back up pretty quickly, though, by middle of the week as we go back to upper-level ridging in this region. And we are probably going to see temperatures getting back well to the 70s. I'm going to probably guess it will be most of us will probably see at least 1 or 2 days in the 80s by the end of this next week. There is some good news, though, and that is by late next week, we actually are going to see there is some signal for troughing getting into the southwestern United States. And with high pressure off the East Coast, that would actually set us up nicely for some return flow from the Gulf. Depending on how much energy this thing has, and again, this is still a ways out, so I got to see this to believe it, but this is the first decent signal for precipitation I've seen in this region for almost about a month. And again, I think it's too early to get real excited about amounts, but if this were to come to fruition, we could actually have widespread 1 to 2 inch rainfalls across a good portion of Nebraska and a wider portion of the region. So this would be real meaningful drought relief for a lot of the central U.S. if this comes to fruition. Now again, this is still a week out. I don't anticipate anybody getting any precipitation anywhere in the state until at least next Friday, so I think we still have at least another 5 to 6 days ahead of us for a harvest window without any interruptions from precipitation. The CPC is not necessarily in agreement with that rainfall yet, though, so again, just maybe don't get your hopes up too high for that rain just yet. We are expected to remain pretty warm across the state, probably through the later portion of October. Soil temperatures mostly in the 60s across the state. Highs range from 100 to 62. We had a low of 18. Congratulations to whoever this is in Omaha for having the only precipitation in the state the last 2 weeks. Thanks, and back to you, Alex.